And good afternoon, everyone. This is the day after, or depending which side of the coast you are, because in the USA they're still sleeping. JJ, I promise I'll be all right. And I think even though some of my Warriors players are sleeping right now, maybe we're asleep in the last 10 minutes of that final quarter. D starting with you. What was the score?
That was a shellacking. It was 40-16 in the fourth quarter alone. It was yeah, it's amazing because the Celtics dropped, I think they were down by 13 at one point. I think it was 102 to 90.
Yeah, they
I
were
think they're
down by
down by
11.
12.
11 was the biggest gap when they started
Was it
coming back.
11?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a double figure lead, and then I think Steph went to the bench, and then the Celtics made their run. But remember, I did say yesterday that the Warriors are really good in the third quarter, and that's when they made their push, and they made the push to blow them out in the third quarter. It looked like they're going to blow the game like they blew the game wide open in that third quarter. I don't know what happens at halftime. Something they just come out in a certain way, and they're just hard to stop. But in the fourth quarter, they seem to just go to sleep, and yeah, they seem to go to sleep, man. It's hard to explain what happened, to be fair. I mean, because I thought the Celtics would get caught up with the pressure of it all, but they didn't. Tatum had a horrible game in terms of offensively. He just disappeared. But then Brown just showed up, and he, like Jermaine said yesterday, he's as good as Tatum is offensively. Just doesn't get the recognition. And yesterday, he kept his team alive. And then in the fourth quarter, the rest of the team began.
White with those threes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Derek White, former San Antonio player, got that Spurs DNA from Popovich, and then yeah, Al Horford had the game of his life as well. At the playoff, I think he scored 25 points, which is a career and playoff high for him, basically. Yeah. So that was the key, basically. The Warriors went away in the fourth quarter.
Cool. JJ, without repeating some of what Deez has said, how did you read those threes being rained down by the Celtics before you give your overarching review of the game? I just want to talk about those threes because I just kept looking at it. I was like, surely one of these threes is going to start hitting the rim and not going in, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, so look, very micro sort of view in terms of the 3-pointers. You have to, it's a make or miss league, right?
Yeah.
In the NBA, there's going to be times when someone's going to score 11 in a row and you're going to score none. There's going to be times when you're going to score 11 in a row, they're going to score none. The key thing is about the process. And if you listen to Draymond Green after the game in his press conference, he basically said they scored 15 out of 23 threes. Now, that's over 60%. Is that likely to happen again? Probably not. Did the most important thing when you're playing basketball was to not focus on the output, but the input. Was the defensive coverage strong enough to make those shots difficult? And that's the question that the Warriors will need to ask themselves. Were we making them work hard for those shots? Or were they wide open shots? Were we giving people the opportunity to make easy shots or hard shots? And if they can answer that question and make those adjustments, they shouldn't have any problems.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm good. I'm gonna let you go for your analysis now. Go for it. I just had I had to get that threes part out, and I get what you're saying in terms of the micro analysis, but looking at things as a whole, because that's how you win the series. Because the series wasn't won yesterday. You know, there's still lots of basketball to be played.
Yeah, look. So if we take a helicopter view of the series in itself, the Warriors have been here many times, right? The Celtics have been to conference finals, like I said yesterday, many times. So they understand the pressure. They've been in 2 game 7s this particular playoff. So they're used to pressure now. They've gone through the barometer of pressure. Whereas if you take the Warriors, they haven't been tested yet. This is the first time where we can honestly say the Warriors are going to be back to the wall, testing the championship metal. And that's really important for them. I think they were complacent. Like I said, they could be. But ultimately, the keys to the game for me, if I had to summarize them, were the Celtics came in with a very smart defensive plan against Curry. But at the beginning, the first quarter, it was not working. They were not switching in time. They were not communicating in time. And he was left wide open. In the second quarter, you will notice they started playing a lot more aggressively on the defense. And they were coming up to Curry and making those shots difficult. And that's why in the first quarter, Curry had 21. But in the remaining 3 quarters, he only had 14. So you could see the Boston defense adjusting to the Warriors offense. And the problem for the Warriors, for me, was they didn't have anyone else step up. Andrew Wiggins scored 20, but everyone else pretty much did nothing. Looney did nothing. Draymond did nothing. Klay Thompson scored 15, but had a really bad game. But again, if we go back to your original point, Olu, in regards to the 3-pointers, the Celtics are not going to shoot over 60% in that stretch again, but Jason Tatum's not going to play as bad as he did. So really, it's a balancing act between they might shoot less percentage on the threes, but Jason Tatum might get freed up to score more. So I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do next.
Definitely. I feel like game 2 is going to be a crunch, and things can swing and go around and bounce like how we saw in the fourth quarter. So lots of ball to be played, and I agree with that. We've got another gentleman on with us this afternoon, Tony. Tony and Diwa, though you don't know each other, there's some relation there. Tony hails from the wonderful land of Kenya, and Diwa spent some time there as well. Let's welcome Tony on. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah, so Tony, how did you see the game yesterday, Tony? You're off mute at the moment, Tony. Did you hear me?
So based on what I'm seeing from Tony, he was so mesmerized by what was happening.
Thank you so much for coming in on that, JJ. Appreciate that.
Yeah. But you know what? DZ did make a good point, though, in terms of the fourth quarter was where it happened, right? The Warriors went in up by 11 or 12 in the third quarter. And DZ, from your point of view, what did you see the Celtics doing differently in the fourth quarter that gave them that momentum to try and get that lead?
I think they hustled more, because if you look at the fact that what got the Warriors the lead in the third quarter was what they normally go to, which is like the ball movement, like the number one in the NBA when it comes to points off screens, in terms of like points, dribbles per shot, like in terms of assists, hockey assists as well, all of that. So in the fourth quarter, the Celtics applied a lot more pressure, and they basically stopped there. And for some reason, I think the Warriors caught a couple of timeouts, but they couldn't. Once the Celtics had the momentum, there was nothing that the Warriors seemed to be able to do about it. With Horford shooting like that, it's going to be tough, to be fair, to beat Boston. But at the same time, the game that's Jason Tatum had, he's had it before. If you look at I think there were 2 or 3 games against Milwaukee and against Miami where offensively he just didn't really do a lot. And that happened again yesterday. So he's not quite at that level where like at a LeBron or a Giannis or a KD or where you know that they can give you 30 every game, no matter what else is going on, no matter how bad of a percentage it is, they're going to go give you 30. Tatum is still at that level of like where he's still like he's still like a young player, which of course he is. But I think regarding the experience, actually, because we talked about this yesterday, I think they announced during the game that Tatum and Brown have played the most minutes of any player under 25 in the playoffs in the NBA. So those guys, like you said, Jermaine, they're very battle tested, even for young players. So for them, I think they just thought, as long as we stay close in the fourth quarter, our defense would keep us in the game. And then, the rest of the team began to, I think Horford hit, the 3 threes in the fourth quarter, which is tough, man. Those are backbreakers, especially when you got that much momentum.
Yeah.
And then the other team just can't buy a basket. Steph Curry's shot stopped going. I think he missed a couple of layups. He missed a couple of threes, and everyone else, and then no one else really stepped up to help him. While the Celtics, they had Brown and Horford just kept going, basically. And then they had a few role players step up as well. So I think that was mainly the difference, was the role players, and the fact that like with the Warriors was basically just Steph, and Wiggins went away in the fourth quarter as well, which is hard. So yeah.
Excellent. Tony, just checking in on you. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. So we've covered quite a bit. When you'll see the recording back, you see what we've mentioned. So we just wanted to check what you thought about the game yesterday before I go on to my next points.
Well, going into this, I thought Golden State had this. Literally, I thought they had this. Not to take anything away from the Celtics, but again, I thought they were a better team on paper. And again, up at quarter, I think they were up, when they were up by 40 points. I thought this was a done deal. But again, the Bostons came back and they earned it. They didn't steal it. They literally. So well deserved win. Yeah, that's what I can say for now. I see how they did it because again, they took advantage because in the Golden State they don't necessarily have a big man because I think their biggest man is Draymond Green, if I'm not wrong.
JJ, you were saying that yesterday, weren't you, about the big players or that height that they could need or miss out on?
You know, they got
Yeah,
Looney, but
Like,
he did have a great game.
yeah, but
On offense.
I see what the Celtics did because they at some point they had his piece and Williams and Halford as well, all in the field at all the pitch at the same time. So they took advantage of that. So they took that big man advantage, and I think that gave them lighter compared to the Golden State.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, gentlemen. So I want to shift the focus now to looking at game two, almost like how we did with our pre-game analysis yesterday. But in terms of the lessons that both teams would have learned, we're still at the Chase Center, and as you said, the crowd, they went off in the third because they saw what was happening, and you called that. You know, when that crowd is going, you know, they start to move. So how does, you know, if Celtics do what they did again and the game goes the same way, or it doesn't go exactly like that in the fourth quarter, but Celtics are up, does the crowd now come into play? I want to deal with you with the crowd, these come
I
Sunday.
think what regarding to the crowd, what the Warriors need to do different was, I think they got a bit mesmerized by Steph Curry in the first quarter. And what Steph might need to do in terms of even just to help the crowd out, he might need to defer in the first quarter, and he might need to let his teammates get going. Like he might need to let Clay hit some shots. They might need to bring Poole off the bench to get him going so that those guys are there in the fourth quarter so they have momentum. Because I think they were just watching Steph in the first quarter. Nobody else really seemed to get going. And the Warriors' key for them is unselfish play. And if you're watching one guy just go off, basically, then no one else is really warming up. And so when that one guy sits and the team begins to lose momentum or something happens, is no one else has really got the hot hand. So I think what they're going to need to do is they're going to need to get the other guys going. And then Steph's going to have to find his shots as the game goes on. And I think that's going to help them in terms of come the fourth quarter, which if they're making shots, the crowd will be there for them. But like, yeah, I think the key thing is Steph's gonna have to take a few less shots in the first quarter and to defer and to let the other guys get going because, like we said, no one came with him, and I think that kind of came up to against a team like Boston as well. That's hard because, like I said, like Jermaine said, the defense made adjustments, and in the fourth quarter they basically choked off a lot of the other guys. So they're gonna need to get the other guys get going. They're gonna have to go back to what they do, which is basically unselfish play, which is lots of passing, lots of ball movement, lots of screens, over.
That's what they're good at.
Yeah. And they kind of went away from that because basically Steph just got so hot, and I think he hit 6 3-pointers in the first quarter, which is, like Jermaine said yesterday, that if any time when Steph's hit 4 3-pointers, they've won in the playoff game, and I think he hit an 8 yesterday. And he lost. Yeah, so the other guy's gonna have to get going, basically, because he can't do it on his own.
Well, I think that might be a bit tricky in the sense that, well, he might want to bring everyone else with him. But the question is, will everyone else get hot like we saw yesterday? Again, I think the for the Golden State Warriors, one of the determining factors is, yes, we know Steph can get hot. We can say the same play, but again, we have people. By people, I mean Andrew Wiggins. I think he's the biggest one in this because again, yesterday I personally I'd say consistent. He didn't necessarily step up, and that might have cost them. So if Andrew Wiggins can play at his all-star level, I think Golden State might have the edge on this one because if you look at their starting lineup, literally everyone is a superstar, not just a star in their own right of way. We have Steph, Clay, and we have Green. We have Jordan Poole, who's really blown up. So if Andrew Wiggins can as well get to that level, I think he's the wild card in all of this. If he plays like he's supposed to, then the Golden State can easily win 4 games. But again, I'd say Andrew Wiggins is a wild card in this.
Okay, you know, JJ, I'm going to come to you. You're Udoka. What are you doing on Sunday?
Look, the reality of the game is that the first 3 quarters, the Warriors were doing everything they needed to do. They were getting open shots. They were dominating. The challenge, however, was that the Boston defense is a bend, not break defense. And what they did was they got to a place where they wanted to adjust it so that they made Steph be the go-to guy. Now, like Deezy was saying, Steph Curry can score those points, but you don't want him to go hot early because the foul trouble, the tired legs, and they started attacking him on offense. So they started going to Tatum, going to Brown to attack Steph Curry. And what that meant was in the fourth quarter, now Curry's not firing. No one else is already heated up. So that was one element. So you keep doing that. To Deezy's point about Tatum didn't have a great game in terms of offensively, in terms of scoring, but he got 13 assists. He got 13 assists, and he played really good switching defense. So for me, I would continue that trend as a Boston sort of coach by saying, stay aggressive, keep shooting your shots, because again, make or miss league. Andrew Wiggins done an amazing job on Jason Tatum. Because he's got the length. Andrew Wiggins done a good job on offense, got 20 points. So he done his job. He, as an X factor, is doing his job. The challenge now is going to be, let's get Klay Thompson in. Let's get some shots for Klay Thompson. Let's get Draymond Green some easy shots to keep him motivated. But Boston, they done everything they needed to do correctly. They adjusted on the spot. They made the shots they needed to make. What they need to be mindful of, however, they can't rely on the three-pointer to bail them out. That's not how they play. What they do well, and what they did do well, was they didn't turn the ball over as much as they normally do. 8 turnovers less than normal. And they actually got more assists this game than Golden State did. And Golden State typically are the highest assist-rated team across the league. So the mere fact that Boston played them at their own game is an indication that they're playing smart, they're adjusting well. And at the moment, in my view, if they keep doing that, this is going to be a series.
Yeah. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm down with that. So I'm hurting because I'm a bad loser, and we all as sports fans and people who watch sports, no one wants to see their team lose. As much as we enjoy competition, I'm sure JJ, you'd agree. Like you'd see the Lakers win everything. I know who's going to turn that down. You want to win every game, even if you want it to be competitive and like score like a last-minute buzzer or something to make it interesting for fans. Everybody wants to win.
I disagree, Olu. I disagree.
That's me. I disagree. I'm on my own then.
No, look, I would say as a fan of LeBron, right, I prefer the 2016 championship over every other championship because he had to go through the trials and tribulations of being down 3-1. When they won in the bubble against Miami, I wasn't really feeling it. It was just like, it was almost like a foregone conclusion for me. I expected it. But in 2016, that for me will always resonate. So as much as I agree it hurts to lose, sometimes going through the pain makes the pleasure feel so much sweeter.
Definitely. I agree.
Absolutely.
Please, what are you gonna say? Only I brought up LeBron today, so you don't have to.
Rent free, man. Rent free.
Jabez, you still watch back 2016?
Yeah. No, you know this. You know this. Anytime the Lakers lose, I just go back and I watch from game 4 onwards, and I'm good.
Oh, bad.
Okay. All right, Tony. I asked you offline, but I didn't see the answer. Please let us know who you support, so the viewers know who you're riding with.
It's again, I'm an Knicks fan. There's no easy way to say this. I'm a Knicks fan.
Oh, geez, what are you saying, man?
Yeah, I like the Knicks too.
There is no easy way to say this, but I'm a Knicks fan. Last season we had last season was brutal because they brought our hopes up only for them to squash it this season, and I think this Randall he finessed his way into a bigger contract because he stepped up, he got paid this season. Again, he's been
that guy's not professional.
Yeah, my point exactly. So
he's
that's
not professional.
He finessed his way into a big contract.
He did. So,
this postseason, I've been supporting the Bucks, and that's why I still think the odds are in favor of Golden State over Boston because of the consistency. If I'm comparing team for team in terms of consistency, I would say again there is no evidence to support this, but this is just personal feeling. I want to see the Boston Celtics have been a bit inconsistent. They have not necessarily won games where they were supposed to win. In the Bucks Celtics, the Bucks and Celtics series, I'd say Giannis single-handedly with his edge took it to Game 7 with the absence of Chris Middleton. With Middleton being absent, that's a series they were supposed to close out in 5 or 6 games. But Giannis single-handedly took it to Game 7, and he was nearly winning it. Come to the Eastern Conference Final. The games where they were supposed to obliterate Miami, they were inconsistent. There were games like, was it Game 5 or Game 6, where they were supposed to win.
Game 6.
Yeah, Game 6. That series was never supposed to go to Game 7.
No,
but
it wasn't.
again, yeah, they didn't step up. So and this is where experience comes in. I feel like the Golden State can deliver. Where the Golden State can easily deliver compared to the Celtics, because again, they do get hot, they do go on a run, but again, they're very inconsistent. They don't deliver each and every time. And I think in that regards, that's where I give the slight edge. I'm not taking anything away from the Boston Celtics, because again, yesterday they showed they can literally come. They have in this case they have the odds stacked.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tony. I'm going to get the last word from you, JJ. Lead us out. Even though we predicted the Golden State winning yesterday, what are you saying for Sunday?
You know what? I had a long think about this, and I watched the video we done yesterday, and asked myself, did I really believe the Warriors would win, or did I believe that the Celtics would win? And now I'm thinking about it. Sometimes evidence shouldn't be ignored. And if I think back to 2004, when the Detroit Pistons had an amazing defense and went up against the Lakers, and everyone was saying, Lakers have got Shaq, Lakers have got Kobe, Lakers have got Malone, Lakers have got Peyton. They ignored the fact that this Detroit defense was unbelievable, top to bottom. And I'm looking at this Celtics team, and I'm looking at the way they adjusted. I'm looking at the way they guarded Steph. I'm looking at the way that they guarded Clay. And I'm thinking to myself, is the obvious staring me in the face? So I'm going to go out on a limb. And I'm going to say the Celtics are going to steal Game 2 against the Warriors. It's going to be a tight game, but I honestly believe that the way they played in this game shows me they've got no fear of the Warriors. And I think the Warriors should definitely have fear of them, because without Curry, they've got no answers. So I'm going for the Celtics in a close game.
All right. Deez, what are you saying?
There's an expression. They say if you let a team hang around long enough, then they think they can beat you. And that's what the Celtics have done the last 2 series. It looked like Milwaukee were going to close them out in Game 6, and then Tatum had maybe the best playoff game he's ever played. Then Miami, it went to Game 7, and then they blew the heat out. But I think Boston's going to win on Sunday, and here's the reason why. I think, like Jermaine said about the defense, if you look at what they did to when they played the Nets in the first round. And people kept saying the week before, I think Tracy McGrady came out and he said the Nets are the 2 most skilled players to ever play the game, and there was all this hype around Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, because the numbers Kyrie is putting up in the regular season. But in the playoffs, Boston had that defense, and Kyrie tends to go away, like recently in the last few years in the playoffs anyway. So I think if you look at the first, second, and third rounds, I think Boston kind of shown that, their team, they look like almost like they like to suffer, in that they'll go through really, really bad stretches, but somehow they manage to stay in the game. And then in that fourth quarter, for some reason, I don't know what, maybe it's the coaching, maybe it's the fact that they're fearless and that they don't know any better, because they've never really been to the finals, so they've got nothing to. It's like they've got nothing to lose. And they just have this fearlessness about them. I think they're going to win a close game in Game 2. So I think they'll win Sunday. Because I predicted the Warriors would win 4-1 as well, but clearly that's not happening. So I think the Celtics will win on Sunday, but it's going to be very close.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I'm not going to predict Sunday because I'm still hurt.
The key thing will be Klay Thompson, by the way. Klay Thompson's going to have to find a way to get going.
Yeah, he's going to have to. He's going to
find a way to get going. He has to, otherwise it's tough.
He's got to help his splash brother out. And Paul, like you said, JJ, young players, that's what we're going to get. They might be hot one game, go off the boil the Nets. But it's whichever way it happens. Even as much as you guys have predicted that Boston will win, and should they even win the whole series, I think we have a series now. We had one before yesterday anyway, but we definitely have one now. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you again, everyone.
So one last thing, by the way, sorry, before we all go.
Is this a thing of yours now? That every time I'm trying to close out, you always
no. I don't know if we do this again on Sunday. I just wanted to say Steph Curry has been really criticized over the last few weeks. Like, he's taken a lot of criticism in the media, where people are saying that like he chokes, in the big moments, and that he's not quite that guy. And that yesterday he came out with the attitude like, I'm going to show people who I am today. And I think if he's got that mentality for the rest of the series, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, if he's come out and he said, this is my moment, everybody's watching, and I'm going to solidify my place as a top 10 player in this series, but winning Finals MVP, it's going to be fun to watch. So we'll see.
Yeah, you like your hero stories, don't you? It's like some kind of trip for him, isn't it, JJ? He just needs to have.
Nah, Olu, this is not a hero story. This is an anti-LeBron story. Certainly, we really.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. He needs a hero to go up against Bron.
Enemy of my enemy.
Oh gosh!
All right,
then, gents.
All right.
You guys have a good
rest
of
the
afternoon.
Nice to meet you, Tony. Take it easy.
Right. Our watchers on the East Coast, in the USA, and even Pacific time, thanks for watching. Please share this on the RBN YouTube channel, like and share. See you guys on Sunday when we analyze Game 2, and hopefully I'll be saying Dub Nation. Hopefully. Take care.
Take it easy.
All right.
Bye bye.